Hey everybody, welcome back to YAFTV, and it is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump right in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So I'm so glad to be back with you here on Tuesday as we're watching this incredible, the overthrow basically of the entire energy dominance control chessboard by Trump. Basically throwing it all out and starting new to rein in City of London, etc., to basically disempower them. And it's working magnificently if we can kind of keep our heads together, if people can stop being stimulated by social media and actually look at what's going on. So I'm going to get into that in a moment. I always start by saying thank you. Thank you so much to everybody supporting the channel monthly. You make YAFTV happen, and I'm so, so grateful. I want to say thank you hugely to Kristen for the donation and the kind words. So, so appreciated, and the wonderful comments from yesterday just really were so heartening. So thank you to everybody for supporting this channel. And so we're going to move in here, and I will plug at the end of the video for my fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV, code YAFTV for 10% off of the incredible miracle molecule. We're going to be doing an incredible presentation soon about Lyme's disease and how the spirochetes of Lyme and other weaponized bugs and parasites use the mitochondrial pathway, which is exactly what Evo cleans out. But we'll get to that at a different time or at the end of the video. Okay, so we're in this position today, and I might just summarize it here. We have, before I'm, as I'm doing this video, we don't have the CCP ambassador to the United States actually showing his face yet after this huge meeting with Trump today at the White House. And this has everything to do with what's going on with the Hormuz Strait, with the blockade. And of course, we saw a couple of CCP ships go through there. Definitely one, a second one rumored to have gone through as well. This having to do supposedly out of Dubai, therefore not coming out of Iran and not of the sanctioned oil variety. So this situation with the ambassador of to the United States from the CCP coming up here for both a presser to basically say, oh, we're calling on rules-based order, we're calling on the international laws, we're calling on the World Trade Organization, right, which is what the USA, the CCP wouldn't exist if it wasn't for our criminal, disgusting Congress and government making it possible for them to do so with multiple previous administrations to destroy our manufacturing, offshore everything, and of course give all of our energy out of the country and through the CCP. And the World Trade Organization, especially when you go back to Dianne Feinstein and you go back to her valiant we need to let China into the World Trade Organization, you know, under Bill Clinton, all of this, regardless of what happened in Tiananmen Square, all of the massive murdering of their citizens, all of the creation of the organ harvesting industry, of the slave labor industry as a national, you know, that's how they do business there in China. No problem. You get into the World Trade Organization and all of the UN stuff to do with you know, sustainability, all of that doesn't apply to China, etc. So that's over. That day is over, and Trump is throwing it all upside down and destroying it, and that's what this whole Iran blockade is about, what the Strait of Hormuz blockade is about, and it all gets into, of course, waterways, maritime access, and how energy flows through them. And for so long, it's been controlled by the City of London. And so what we see here, and I'll probably put on the glasses and just jump in, but I actually might jump in a moment. I want to talk about a couple other things before I get into the full bore about how wonderful it is to see Trump and his administration, the people working with him to take down Cartel Babylon, energy cartel that has ruled this country since basically at least 100 years, but plus um, to take it back. It's fantastic. It's great. But let's talk about a couple other things first. We love seeing Swalwell crash and burn. We feel really horrible for the women that he abused and raped and strangled. And so let me just say, so Eric Swalwell, the disgusting, awful, gross CCP operative, as we know from his massive affair with Fang Fang, his staffer, as he is a representative out of California. That all happened. We saw that Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, had released these files, and the FBI situation of going after him for what was going to be this whole massive investigation about Fang Fang, Christina Fang, who was his operative, his CCP assignment, just as Dianne Feinstein with the CCP had a 20-year what was it, her the chauffeur, right? But also like controlled her office and controlled what was going on. Dianne Feinstein out of California was her husband was the first one to launch the massive hedge funds into the CCP with this whole situation of getting them into the World Trade Organization and et cetera. But anyway, so Eric Swalwell crashing and burning, so great to see, and so great for justice being done because as we're seeing the most recent allegations, we're seeing, well, Eric Swalwell has resigned from Congress, and his governor campaign for California is over, and we love this. We love it so much because he is such a dirtbag, and it is so nice to see hopefully some justice coming because it wasn't just that one of his victims came out and said, I was an associate of his, a business associate. We met on multiple occasions for business meetings. And then on one occasion, he drugged me, raped me, strangled me, thought I was dead, and all of this. So, yeah, disgusting and awful. Even hate to have to say it on the channel, but we need to understand when you think Eric Swalwell, it's like you just think evil. It's just an evil situation. And so, right after this announcement of this press conference of her, we get Eric Swalwell being brought up on criminal charges. It's just so fantastic. Absolutely how it should be. And of course, Tony Gonzalez, the Republican out of Texas, also resigning from Congress. And him with his staffer, who he had a relationship with, that supposedly she emoliated herself, she set herself on fire and died. I can think of a lot of ways to kill yourself and that are way less painful. And I don't think that would be my choice. Okay, I don't think that many people choose that as their option for if you're going to kill yourself, you're going to set yourself on fire with gasoline. So I believe that Tony Gonzalez will also be brought to justice. Let's pray for it. The evil of these people, and what they do, and how we're dealing with such a corrupt and disgusting Congress, so infiltrated by evil, and how we continue to have to fight. And that's why I don't understand why, still the social media crazy town of there being a, um, a massive fight about MAGA or Trump or anything else when there's no analysis of the larger game of taking down the control of energy, which is the central way an economy recovers, an economy actually rejuvenates, reshores. You can't have reshoring, you can't have reindustrializing without control of energy and energy dominance. We're seeing massive amounts of oil tankers heading to the United States through this Hormuz Strait blockade. They're heading to the United States to get their oil and gas from here. This is the whole option that is presented by the throwing over of the energy chessboard to be redone and restarted by Trump et al. And so when we're seeing where Trump comes out and says to the UK and Starmer and says, hey, too bad about NATO not supporting the Iran, military move. But hey, how about you open up the North Sea for the oil drilling? You're killing your country. They have no, everybody's screaming for energy. You're just completely taxing them and completely screwing over your citizens for their ability to produce goods in your country. And this gets into Ireland. Ireland did have a vote today of no confidence for the government. And I'll just let you know right here, I have not been able to see the what was the outcome of that today. So I'm looking really forward to seeing it, but I wasn't able to address that before I'm doing this video. A vote of no confidence being put in the Irish government. Fantastic. But Trump says, hey, UK, uh, how about opening up the North Sea for drilling and helping out your country instead of relying on Norway to do it? And this whole juxtaposition of the UK versus the EU, which they're supposedly not part of but are entirely controlled by, and then we have King Charles coming, of course, like I don't know, 10 days from now. That there's going to be King Charles, for a 4-day visit, a state visit, and this is going to be all of this, and it's going to be Greenland, and it's going to be so many things to do with energy, the future, hemispheric defense, outlined by Trump, and of course, what's going on in the situation with the Chinese ambassador coming into, basically say to Trump, we need to work something out. We've got this state visit with UNG in May 14th to 15th, and we absolutely need to get on some good footing here. And we know that a big part of this is going to be Trump saying to him and to Xi, none of this trading, none of these paying these fines to Iran or paying for oil to Iran or anybody else with yuan. Okay, this is about the USA getting out of the OPEC control and the petrodollar control. It is a transitional time, and it's about sovereign countries basically breaking the algorithm of the massive insider trading, the terrorist trading, what goes on with having the City of London using what they had was we have all these threats. There's always some TS threats. There's always going to be you have to pay us insurance to go here or there. Every little speck of news or the Houthis, shoot a missile, something happens in Sudan. There's always some way for them to constantly, on the millisecond, using the algorithms to make, hundreds of billions of dollars. Trump is wanting to upset that, turn it upside down, have there be this situation where, no, 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 we're trading energy on sovereign nations, and to remove that creation of false money that comes out of cartel Babylon, comes out of the economy of sin. And it's going to develop, it's going to take more time to see how it goes. But we do love Eric Swalwell crashing and burning at that disgusting, gross person that he is. He was the acolyte of Adam Schiff. And Adam Schiff, as we know, is equally disgusting and awful. Thrown under the bus by Pelosi and Elizabeth Warren, and all the oldsters of the Democratic Party are abandoning the Swalwell ship. So that's fantastic, as well as Tony Gonzalez out of Texas. So good to see, and we're really happy about it. I think it's fantastic. But I also wanted to mention, another an event that's coming, and finally putting on the glasses. I want to let people know that, Virginia, with the CIA Spanberger takeover and the immediate flushing, just putting through massive, massive taxes, and then this huge gerrymandering push they're trying to put through in the votes coming up. And it's really important for the people of Virginia to get involved, but massive grassroots going on there. If you are in Virginia and you want to fight this thing that is the communist jihadist takeover of Virginia, basically being built as a platform to be able to impeach Trump, to create massive lawfare. That is the general huge push of why they need to take Virginia. It's right there, it's DC. And so on this Sunday, you're going to see on the 19th, in Hanover County, a huge rally, a grassroots rally, Virginia. This is to basically bring people together, 4 to 7 p.m. Well, the rally I think is before that, but go to warroom.org, check it out, and see how you might want to get in there and get involved to understand how you might be able to be part of the solution. There is this whole situation of um, Virginia is massively red, massively red. Like they put up these graphs that show that's like it looks like a lobster of all the counties of Virginia, and there's just this tiny bit of the tail, excuse me, that is the blue cities. That is the blue cities. And again, this is republic versus democracy. Democracy, as Royce White says, is the heresy of our situation where in this republic we allow democracy to overtake what are republican rules of our constitution and our government, and allowing this kind of situation of basically a Maoist, communist, Marxist effort here to give over seats, okay, give over congressional seats to the Democrats based on population versus the reality of what is a Republican government based on the counties and the constituency. Okay, that's what always was supposed to and has been happening. But this is this population versus dividing those powers into what is the counties and their rights. And so you can get involved in that, and I will link it below. Very important, very, very important, because we know that underneath Spanberger is her Muslim lieutenant governor, and then of course you have the AG that literally somehow was elected, even though he threatened to kill the children of his opponent. I mean, you can't make it up. Yeah. And so, very important to understand. So, we're going to keep watching that as it goes on over the weekend, but this is really important to understand. So, as I go from there, we're looking at, this massive concern and worry about inflation. We have Scott Bessent coming out at the Semaphore, kind of elite financiers meeting yesterday, and talking about this worry about hyperinflation is not what is going to happen. That this is a controlled a timeline here. We have to take down the control of world energy by Cartel Babylon. We have to take down the City of London's control over it if we're going to actually have any hope for the USA to become energy dominant, not to mention energy independent. And if we're going to fight this, 60 to 80-year war of the USA being the cash cow, being the military might, and having everything sucked out of us, and control, including the fact that we make incredible amounts of energy and are not given the proper due rewards. And of course, the revamping after the SDGs, the UN, the global climate crapology, everything that Trump has gotten the USA out of with the transatlantic treaty, all of it, that basically that we are a sovereign nation with massive amounts of energy and dominance that's going to prevail, and we're using that in order for the USA to be able to become sovereign again, but also fight this globalist leviathan that has been trying to demolish us. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. And it's really interesting because it's so hard, right? We're all suffering. It's awful. It's hard, right? Times are hard. Finances are hard. And it's just to make people remember, or just to encourage you to remember, that this whole fight has been what we're doing it for. This whole fight to take down the dominance over the USA by the European elites, the trillionaire elites, Cartel Babylon, the Rothschild Empire, all of it is reliant on energy. That has always been the thing. That's why if you go into the Department of Energy from way back when, Rothschild's name's all over everything because they owned so much of our energy infrastructure. Whether you can go to any grid, any state you want, and you go down and you investigate, and you see that these banks have owned us in our energy grid. Trump is flipping that. He's saying, "Out, you're out. We are going to take back our energy." And it's going to, there's so much involved, but we need to understand that as Besant is liquidating banks in Switzerland, not liquidating the ones in the UAE yet, right? Letting China, take their ships through. There's a huge negotiation going on here with Trump with China, and it's very important because really it's Russia and China are the huge global players when it comes to military and economy, versus nobody else who has anything, right? um, they're all just relying on what they have done is a giant parasite to suck off the other people that they steal money from. And so this is what's going on, and Trump is navigating that right now. And so I will be able to report more on that after we hear what goes on in that meeting with the ambassador from China today. But you know what Besant and Trump have both come out and said is that the leverage that Iran has over the Strait of Hormuz will end. It's going to end. That they won't be able to hold it for themselves anymore. And it will become that there is agreements made at the end of all of this, even though the USA is having to do it all, taking on the entire world, doing the heavy lifting for the entire world, okay, and Western civilization and everybody, that to end this tyranny over global energy dominance by the City of London and the global bankster elites is that we have to take control of the Strait of Hormuz, and that Iran will lose that control, and hopefully it will come into some kind of working arrangement with sovereign countries all in agreement. And something will keep evolving out of this. There will be an evolution of what comes to pass. But right now, America's doing it and making it happen. We have 13 huge, I think there's like 3 battle carrier groups. I think the third one's on the way. But then besides that, huge vessels, everything dealing with this blockade in the strait. And so it all expands out from there of how much this control of straits, passageways, merchant ships. This is central to world power, and it's what Trump is taking on. So it's what we're looking at. It's what we're dealing with. And I think I might address here real quick, um, kind of the mind control situation that's going on with people, and to do with social media and why we need to ignore it. Oh come, let us ignore it. This is a whole situation of even with that thing with when I just said, oh come, let us ignore it. Oh come, let us adore him. Right? This is about Jesus Christ and what I'm referencing. But this is a situation, even in Trump's response to Pope Leo, where he puts up that image of him, in this kind of Pope role. And people, oh, it's blasphemy. He's saying he's Jesus Christ or whatever. No, he was saying like I'm equal to the Pope, and it's because the Pope is a disgusting, evil, awful person. And I'm just saying it here. It's not. This is not news to anybody. Pope Leo Prevost, he is an acolyte, mentee of the Dark Pope Francis, right? Satanic Francis. And he literally is a liberation theologist. It's all about Marxism, communism. But no, no, no. It's that's a convenient. It's like all of these people, SDG, UN, sustainability goals, renewables, all of this. That's all happy talk for we're going to dominate and control you and steal everything from you. And that's exactly where Leo has always been. And, Trump coming out and saying, oh, his brother's MAGA. I love his brother. But, Prevost, Leo, no, don't love him so much. And so, yeah, put out all the memes you want, Trump. More power to you. I enjoy them. I think they're fantastic. And so the situation where people are somehow being manipulated to not understand that in 2016 Trump could put out memes about Rosie O'Donnell, but now here this time you can't put out these memes. Uh, there's an issue here where people are. Um, I'm not sure what it is. I do think the EMFs and the massive geoengineering and the intra-body nano network of things is really taking a toll on people, as well as stress and everything else. And it's ramping up. Maybe it's the magnetosphere where we're going into a pole shift. Like there's all kinds of, problems that we could be facing, and it's kind of important. But what's important? Being with God, okay? Because that's what the wonderful thing is about redemption and the promise of the resurrection is that it's continued existence. Stay in your truth, stay in your integrity, and just keep marching forward with the truth. And then, you continue on. Life continues on. Hardships, they're met. God is with you. And so just keep carrying on. But in the social media sphere, the reason it was created by DARPA and the social media platform stolen from Michael McKibben and his creation of it back in the day with Leadership Technologies, and then made into this $1 trillion industry, multiple trillions, for massive brain control, mind control, and how that's now so super interconnected with the interbody nano network of things, the sensors in our bodies, all of it. Is that this mind control problem and what's going on social media and how people are ridiculously losing the larger vision. And I wanted to remind people here now, just kind of give a little shout out here. Um, Psychology. Okay, psychology was created, of course, right, by Sigmund Freud. Basically, and his whole circle were all socialists, Marxists, and they were all about creating communes and creating all these social experiments. And what Sigmund Freud specifically, specialized in was trying to. He worked for elite. Families to basically try to mind control the women, the girls, the children about the fact that their fathers had raped and abused them to be fantasies, and that they were hysterical, and that they had this id complex, that they had penis envy, and that they were just projecting these fantasies. Okay, just think fast forward, right, about 150 years, and you get, Epstein, you get all of these same things. So Sigmund Freud, the cocaine addict, half his nose, I think, rotted off, um, uh, uh, doing all of this work for the elites and creating a mind science, okay? A mind science that used to be only in the occult. Up till that time, it was, an occult thing where you tried to do these kind of mind talks. Mostly, it was Christian, and people would just be like, "You're a heretic, get out." But the elites, they went on, whether it was John Donne, just kept going on and on from there, of the occult mind control. And then you had all of these esoteric other movements going on, right? And this happens, in a way through different astrological movements, different things that lend energies at the time for them to kind of expand and thrive, right? But then what do we get? We get Sigmund Freud, creator of psychology. His nephew is Ed Bernays, right? And, same thing, talking about it for 10 years, as you know, but he wrote the book Propaganda, right? He created the entire industry of public relations. Edward Bernays wrote Propaganda, this book about how to mind control people. And we had Hitler, of course, while he was in prison, with was it Goebbels with him, that he read this book, Propaganda, and it's how he was able to, get his, super mind, charged up with how he would propagandize the entire German people. Propaganda, okay, that is a psychology. And we then get launched into social media, right, 100 years later, whatever, um, where this whole situation of people psychologizing everybody and how that is somehow valid. It's valid. It used to be virtues and the worthiness of your argument, your debate, your cognitive function, what you're able to say about a certain subject. Okay, that made it true. Even the newspapers, the debates, the politicians. This had to do with proving that you have the right state of mind, and you not even that. Sorry, excuse that. No, that you had the right argument, and that you had the right debate points, and that you could argue what you were putting forth. But now we get the psychologizing, right? The navel gazing. Oh, I'm so depressed today. I can't do this. I can't do that. Not saying that's not real. I don't know. Depression is kind of a thwarted self-realization, and inability to confront the oppression in front of you. But that doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that people, this psychologizing on social media, especially with Trump and what's going on here, needs to be understood for how propaganda works. Trump is demented. Trump has lost his mind. Trump has King Lear syndrome. All of this crazy talk is people getting into, and of course, in the late 60s, 70s, and the self-help movement, and all of this stuff where everything became about your feelings, everything became about what you think about something, what you feel about something, just removing people from actually dealing with reality, hold, the hard facts, okay, about, the economy, about the political situation, about our constitutional republic, your engagement in civics. All of that was a purposeful, very, very purposeful, with the brightest brains in the psyop warfare world, since, way before World War II, but then after it, massively, massively, where there was just massive operations to control our minds, to get into our feelings. And then you get horizontal hostility, right? Where people are attacking each other that are even in their same realms, like MAGA, for instance, attacking people based on this, you know, how people feel or what they think about somebody versus actual reality. And even this thing about insinuating stuff about Trump versus hard facts. Okay, what are the policies? What's going on? What's the reporting? What do we know? Not your feelings about Trump's drinking Diet Coke, or whatever, his social media that he completely and constantly uses as a tool to throw off the trail of the world, knowing what he is about to do. And this gets into, look at the policy, not the tweets or the truths. Okay. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that people can kind of understand that we're looking at saving the USA from this exact mind virus I just discussed. It's not a mind virus; it is psyops on steroids from the top people of psychological warfare, and we're having to fight it and combat it, and we need to throw it away. We need to get out of it entirely and focus on the reality of the world, the reality of what the Trump administration's actions and policies are doing, what's coming, and then the grievances we have about them, whether it is, I hate paying more for gas, I wish we could get better, economic relief sooner. Great, fine. Your local government is the number one problem. Okay. For instance, like during this time, if we had an operational republic that wasn't controlled by globalist inserts into our local politics, where you have in the States all of these massive, massive taxes, right? In Ireland, this no confidence vote for the government is to do massively where they're paying, they pay like two-thirds of what they pay for petrol, which is gas, is like two-thirds is all tax, and then they only get a third of that in actual petrol for their cars and lorries and tractors and everything that runs the industry of the country. Okay, that's reality, right? So your state's taxing you on fossil fuels as designed in a massive psyop through the Green New Deal and the scam. I mean, we're seeing in Massachusetts, there's a huge play there. Let me talk about that for a moment, where we're seeing a huge fight back against GE Renewables by Vineyard Wind. Okay, Vineyard Wind, right? Martha's Vineyard. That's where Barack Obama hangs out, and everything would do with Noah and the yeah, whatever. We won't get into all that right now, but we know with everything to do with the situation with the all the Blue Seas initiatives and Ghislaine Maxwell and the creation of child operatives, etc. But anyway, that's Martha's Vineyard. GE Renewables, of course, is backing out of the Vineyard Wind offshore project at the end of April. And basically, Vineyard Wind owes them about $300 million. And there's total secrecy about the project because about $4.2 billion of people from Massachusetts, stolen from their taxpayer dollar money, has gone to fund this thing. And Trump, of course, put the executive order saying no offshore wind. This stuff is disgusting. It's a national security threat, which it is. Not to mention just a massive, massive interference with our atmosphere. Not to mention all the wildlife. But for humans, it is awful. And we need to come back to the focus on humans as being the central thing here. Absolutely, the environment with total respect and stewardship. But the humans here is vital, and the geoengineering creation of the constant winds across the planet. This whole massive interference with us electromagnetically, and what they're doing with the massive poisoning, of course, also with the dropping of the huge amounts of particulates through the chemtrails. But really interesting to see this situation, because in Congress, when it was talking about with Massachusetts, there's this whole speed act going on in Congress, 202 225 3121 202 225 3121 for your Congress member. This is to do with the Republicans trying to push through this Speed Act, which of course, they're trying to use what Trump is doing here with this energy, reset or whatever you want to call it. That basically that everything is being redone with global control over energy, and so the Speed Act is like we have to get all that production of oil. We have to do all of this, all of those um, everything to do with that has to be okay to move forward, right? Including nuclear, everything. There's just a massive push through. But the Republicans are trying to push it through because of their greed and speed, that they want to just to not worry about the wind turbine offshore problem. Okay, not to mention across the country, taking over the landscapes and everything, etc. But the offshore stuff, they want to just say, hey, we can't deal with the Democrats fighting us on this so hard, because that 4.2 billion in Massachusetts is just a drop in the bucket for all of what we know of huge, huge, huge pay for play that came out of the Biden administration's deals globally. okay, for what was the creation of this offshore wind stuff. All from China, by the way, all the components, all the turbines, all of everything coming from China. Same with solar. And but we need to fight it and make sure that in the Speed Act to get energy production basically supercharged, that we don't include the uh, uh, the wind offshore programs being part of it. So I'll try to link it below, but I'll also be covering it later in the week as well. And so this is what we're dealing with is it's always like, oh, we just have to throw everything in one basket, it's just all or nothing. And it's just no. That's the whole psychology propaganda stuff. It's exactly the same psyop of the need for speed, just this um, uh, the all or nothing approach that you know, uh, Trump definitely employs, but however, it is so much to do with our corrupt and disgusting Congress and Senate and all the lobbyists and everybody behind them. So we have to be the ones in our states, in our counties, and dealing with our local governments. That's our job. Okay, that is our civic duty, and that's what we need to embrace in our actions, okay, for our control, taking back control from the color revolutionaries of the paid what on steroids really for the last 10 years plus has been just the massive influx of globalists, literally not even from America, moving into our counties, taking you know uh, elected positions, but also positions in our who influences our meetings, our city council meetings, et cetera, et cetera. It's up to us to wake up, to get back in action, and to take control of our country, because county by county is how they do it, and we need to be the ones who stand in to stop it. So I'm bringing that up to say, you know, if there's an action, it is to get involved locally, and we need to do it because what's coming, could be very, very difficult, right? At Bilderberg, for instance, we have the hugely talked about was energy lockdowns, okay, and this situation of how they counter Trump, which would be basically like a kind of cyber polygon style, cyber polygon being a board exercise they did out of the World Economic Forum to say, hey, next pandemic is going to be a cyber polygon. It's not a physical virus. It's a computer virus, and we're going to hack everything and take it down, kind of 0 day style. And I don't know if you ever watched that. There's like a show at, I don't know, Netflix or what, I don't know. Um, Robert De Niro, that a-hole, who basically plays a past president who has being hit with voice to skull technology that's totally mind controlling him and he's crazy. But they're hit with this 0 day hack attack that has to do with like the largest kind of meta level controller of the internet that ends up taking down the grid of the internet. But this kind of hack attack that could go beyond that into our energy grid system, it seemed to be a huge, huge topic of discussion and planning at the Bilderberg over the weekend. So these are the crucial things that we're dealing with in the threat of the fight back versus USA finally completing American Revolution 2.0 250 right now versus the globalist bankster cartel, I call Cartel Babylon, continuing to fight back and to really come hard at us. So that's where I'm going to leave it. It's like I can never cover everything. I need to get into robotics. I need to get into unmanned automatic weapons. There's so much coming up to do with all of this and the threat it poses, but I have to leave it there for now. I feel like I covered what was the important points. Um, I'm watching so much of people out there spending ridiculous amounts of time uh, on infighting versus actually fighting, fighting for the republic, fighting for your country, fighting for America, revival, but also maybe a Christian revival, and not maybe, definitely, and also uh, bringing attention to the actual issues that matter. So I'm going to leave that there. If you found something helpful in this video and you want to support the channel, I so appreciate it. There's ways to do so below. Please like and subscribe. Also trying to, talking about the social media um, control. There is massive shadow banning on this channel. So if you could like and subscribe, that'd be great. Share is fantastic as well. Trying to break through the algorithm, but also, and the algorithms are huge, another whole topic to jump into, to how they control everything pretty much in our lives. Again, coming from the most elite um, institutions owning most of the resources. So, yeah, anyway, if you want to support this channel, there's ways to do so below. And I'll just let you know, I have a fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com. This is a giant glass bottle of the C60 Evo olive oil. This is the incredible, most powerful C60, carbon 60 out there are, manufactured in the world at the best and purest uh, place in the world, laboratory that basically in a reactor that mimics the action of the sun. And so basically what it does is it cleans out your mitochondria. So mitochondria health is cellular health, and cellular health has to do with everything to do with every degenerative disease on the planet. Anything that exists that degrades you is your cellular degradation. So longevity, inflammation, everything to do with central nervous system disorders, brain dysfunction. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, cleans out the neurons, and we're going to be talking about this soon with people from the company about this Lyme's disease and bioweaponry to do with weaponizing spirochetes and etc., and how they use the mitochondrial substrate to get in there and access your cells and become these autoimmune diseases. So anyway, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. And let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Excuse me, I'm starting to get done. But also, anybody who's ever contributed to the channel, donated, you automatically get 15% off with a different code and link sent to you. But this is one of the most powerful tools in my medicinal tool belt, and I want to share it with you. So, incredible sponsor that supports You Are Free TV. So I want to support them, and I thank you so much for doing so as well. So, okay, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this was beneficial and helpful. There's going to be a lot more coming down in the next few days, so we're going to stay on top of it, and I will see you soon. Keep your prayers up, your shields out, right? Shields out, turtle formation, right? Have each other's backs, where we're literally going against Cartel Babylon and doing our part there in the formation to fight locally, so that it's not as hard, okay, to do it on the national level. Without a grassroots, without people actually doing the work locally, there's no hope for the national actions to succeed. They'll become something different. Trump administration, all of it is depending on us to ignore social media baloney and infighting and actually take part in this American Revolution 2.0, defeat the City of London and defeat the Cartel Babylon of the globalist regime, intent on a globalist technocracy prison planet. So it's up to us. We're going to get there, okay? Just hang tough. You are free, and I'll see you next time.